Now I'd like to turn over this session to 𝗖𝗵𝗽𝘁𝗲𝗿𝘀. She's a longtime Connect partner. We're so excited to see this session today. 𝗖𝗵𝗽 is the dynamic CEO and strategist behind 𝗲𝗏𝗏�fan Events, a woman-led boutique event planning and production agency. She's also a CMP, digital event strategist, and wellness meeting and event professional. Please join me in welcoming 𝗖𝗵𝗽 to the stage.
Thank you. Awesome. Well, we're going to be flexing some success today, and I know it's right after lunch, so there's going to be some movement involved just because we want to make that mind-muscle connection and not go into that post-prandial deep, which is like, the post-lunch slumber, because we have all these appointments that we're going to have to hit just in a few, an hour or so. All right. So, welcome to Flexing Success, Powerlifting Your Business with Mental and Physical Fitness. But before we get started, by a show of hands, I'm just curious, how many of you are into fitness? All right. How about bodybuilding? Okay, I got my girl over there. CrossFit, anyone? Okay, how about hiking? All right, climbing mountains. Okay, so I love that I have a mixed bag of everything. So I'm going to be using a few different visuals and metaphors. So I'm going to be going across the board from fitness, bodybuilding into climbing mountains, just so that I hit everyone and everybody feels like they're getting something from this. So with that, let me first introduce myself. I guess there's been a little bit of introduction. What I want to add to this is the fact that what I'm super excited about is the launch of a sister company to 𝗲𝗏𝗏𝗏 Events. Now, 𝗲𝗏𝗏𝗏 Events is a woman-owned event production agency and planning agency. However, lately, I've been growing into this wellness and fitness a whole lot, so much so that I decided that I need a product, and that would be this new sister company, which is really coming at this intersection between mental wellness, physical fitness, as well as offering strategy and coaching and retreats for the event planners that you all are, that shun the average, the ones that put on all these events, but also the C-level executives and small business owners. So aside from that, I also happen to host a podcast. Events Demystified has been around for about 4 years that I've been really consistent. And one thing that I'm excited about is that the latest season 7, actually talks about Eventful AI. All the things that you've heard in the panel, we're covering with top-level AI industry leaders, not just in the event industry, but also across the board. So make sure you check that out. There's a lot of tips that are being shared. And of course, to keep things super interested, I'm also a natural bodybuilder competitor. And here's the fun part. My next competition is in 16 days. Ask me later how easy it is to stay away from all these amazing treats while I have to keep strict to my macros and not fall victim to all the temptations, especially the drinks after hours, okay? So if you see me drink, come to me and say, what are you doing? Okay, so with that, let's dive straight in. Like I said, we're going to start with this opening scene where you're imagining yourself on top of your summit. Whether that is a fitness milestone, maybe an actual mountaintop, or a major business success, or a major event that you just planned. Can you visualize that? Can you see yourself in that picture? Take a moment to just see yourself just taking in that view. Does it feel amazing? Because I remember when I first taught my first 12er, and for anyone that doesn't know what a 12er is basically any mountain peak that is over 12,000 feet. And this is in Idaho. Mount Bora is one of the highest peaks in Idaho, and there's 9 of them. My first one was this one, and I remember that feeling of accomplishment, of acceleration, because this is a very technical climb, and I haven't done like over 10,000 before, and this is also happened to be called the beauty peak. I'm not sure why, but it just felt amazing to hold that over my head and say, I did it. And as you're looking at that slide, you're probably thinking, well, that's fantastic. But I'm nowhere close to standing on any kind of summit right now. As a matter of fact, I've been standing at the bottom of this mountain, and I'm not even sure that I can climb it. And even if you are that person and you're thinking, how in the world am I going to climb this mountain? What I'm thinking is, hopefully, that you're not going to just think to waltz up a mountain in high heels or flip-flops, right? Hopefully not. I've seen people on trails with flip-flops, and I'm thinking, what are you doing? It's happened before. What you want is a game plan. You want a dream team, and you want the right mindset. Because just like scaling a peak, building an event business or any business at all is a climb. And here's the spoiler alert. There's always going to be another mountain. There's a whole range of new peaks that once you get on top of that first mountain, they're going to be calling your name. But ultimately, we want to reach that peak, and for that we must also put our health as a priority. We have to think about ourselves, and for me that's something that's super important, because we can't really achieve great things if our body isn't up to the challenge. How many of us have been putting hours upon hours on event sites, only at the end of it to just feel completely broken? We don't want that. The body that we have is the one thing that we don't have doubles of. I don't know about you, but I don't have a double in my closet that I can just put on like an outfit. So this is the one thing that I have to take care of so I can go on and do bigger and better things. So physical well-being is the foundation upon which we can build any success, any business, anything at all, really. So today we're going to dive into that. So strap on and let's talk about how to conquer our world one summit at a time. And we'll get straight up climbing. Now, the starting point for any expedition, for any adventure, for any fitness journey is the base camp. Before you pick up that one first dumbbell in the gym, or maybe get hiking your very first trail, you've got to assess your current fitness level. You've got to know, what are you working with? What are your resources? What are the marking conditions? You have to know what your maybe max bench press is or leg press is, as well as your maximum budget. So while we have this reality check at the base camp, I will say though that sometimes a lot of people here is where they get overwhelmed and they say, well, I don't have this and I don't have that and I'm not in the best condition ever. But what I'm here to tell you is that every small step counts. Like in the gym, you're not going to go and start with, I don't know, a 300-pound deadlift on your first day, right? Or you're going to wake up one day and say, well, today I'm just going to go and go to Mount Everest and start climbing, right? No, you want to start small, but the point being, you have to start. And I would encourage you to start with what you can manage. Maybe it's a 10-pound dumbbell. Maybe it's that local hill in the neighborhood that you'll be looking at. I'm like, maybe I should hike that. With business, maybe you can just start with assessing what are the things that you have to work with, the team that you've got, and build from there. And with any any business plan, with any fitness journey, with any climbing expedition, you have to have some kind of initial goals, initial crucial goals. And you've all heard about SMART goals, right? They have to be measurable, they have to be specific first, measurable, achievable. They also have to be relevant and time-bound. Now, setting your goals from the get-go can also play a big part in fine-tuning your strategy as you go and building a habit by writing your goals down and categorizing them for the present, near future, and distant future is what's going to help you in the next stage, which is making sure that you keep motivated, because you're gonna have to, hit some milestones along the way. And if you write those goals down, it helps you to start with things like, maybe you're like thinking, okay, well, how do I, where do I even start for writing those goals down? Like for me, for myself, with house, and we were talking about ChatGPT, like prompting. I would prompt myself and say, what do I aspire for myself and for my business? And when you plot things like that, you keep yourself accountable, but also motivated to make sure that you work towards those goals. And speaking of work, it's important to also take action, which is just part of the process. No goals, any kind of goals, can be achieved without, I gotta break it to you, breaking the sweat and putting in some work and getting your hands dirty. I wish I could say it's easy to do, to climb a mountain, or it's easy to be in a bodybuilding competition. No, none of that. It's easy. I'm not here to sell easy. I'm here to sell consistency, hard work, but also that gets you to the next level. Now, imagine running a 5-mile course without any trackers whatsoever, and you just keep going at it, and maybe around 200-meter point before the finish line, you're getting super tired, but you have also no clue where you are, and you decide, okay, there's no end to this race, I'm just going to end here. I remember running my first half marathon because my husband signed me up for it. I don't know what he was thinking. And I was doing fine for the first 10 miles. And the last 3 miles, I remember I had no training. It was more like I signed up for the marathon and then I ran the marathon the next weekend. So in the last 3 miles, I'm running every single mile, and every step of those 3 last miles, I don't know if we're allowed to swear here, but it was like a fuck step, okay? So that's a lot of swearing in a 3-mile process, okay? But that was because I didn't actually train for it, but also I didn't have some kind of a, idea, where am I on this course? I need to get to the finish line. I'm going to get to the finish line even if they put me off the floor. But it had been so much nicer to have some kind of trackers to keep me going. Now, imagine a different scenario where you do have markers and they are telling you that you're almost there. How much more are you going to give it your last sweat because you know that you're so close to, whatever the finish line that might be? That's why milestones are so important, so that you can regularly check your progress. And every once in a while, you might need to actually pause and evaluate. Am I even going in the right direction? How far am I from where I started, and how far am I from where I'm going? And some of those tracks will only help you keep accountable, but also will help you figure out, am I going in the right direction? Are my current strategies actually matching to where I want to go? But for your progress, in order for it to be effective, you need to give yourself some kind of a reasonable periods to accomplish all of those milestones that you're going to have to set for yourself. In bodybuilding, you might first, aim for just consistently showing up and going to the gym. That's a good starting point. And then maybe the next milestone might be, how about about if I go from 1 day to a 3-day, or from a 3-day to a 5-day program, or maybe I just aim to get enough protein in my diet to make sure that all that hard work in the gym is actually going to translate in some muscle growth, right? In business, breaking down your big goals into smaller, achievable milestones means that you can keep up with whatever challenges because you know you're going the right direction. It's almost like having those rep sets that keep you pumped up and motivated to keep growing. Now, what do they say about eating an elephant? Like, how do you eat an elephant, right? Like, one bite at a time. But it doesn't mean that you should take 2 years to eat your elephant. So don't drag out the process intentionally just because, like, I know for myself, I'm my own boss, right? So I need to be very accountable to my own goals, to my own milestones, because nobody checks on me. Like, I have to set up my own accountability system to make sure that those milestones that I set up for myself, they're attainable and challenging. And if you are an event planner that, you work for yourself, you have your own agency, you know how important it is to keep yourself accountable, to stay on track, to make sure you don't get, you procrastinate until the very last minute, and then everything like the sky is falling kind of thing. Now, another important thing here is to make sure that you celebrate your wins. If you're, in the gym hitting a PR, and that happened to me just this last weekend because I came from a wellness retreat and I was so recharged. I was looking at my training readiness on my watch, and for the very first time, it was in the green. It was in the 90s. Most of the time it's like in the red. I get like a 4 out of 100 score. So I'm ready to go into the gym and just hit it hard, like PR after PR after PR. And also with that, then I wanted to celebrate. I'm like, this is a great day. Like, I want to celebrate those things. If you've had a career in events, in business, say for 20 years, there's so many cool things that you've done, but if you do not start to celebrate those wins, to write them down, there's going to be a time when you're going to want to recall on this amazing events, amazing moments that you've had, and you're not going to remember them. Like, if you have my memory, you're not going to remember them. So write them down, put them down, make sure that you celebrate them, make sure that you make those wins something that you look forward to. It's almost like setting up those mini base camps where you can rest, you can refuel, and you can revel in your gains, both financial and muscular if you're into bodybuilding. Now, just as you might switch your workout routine based on your results you're looking for, or maybe, as we'll discuss later, based on some injuries that you might encounter because that's just part of the process, or if you're climbing a mountain, there's always going to be some kind of unpredictable weather, be prepared to reassess and adjust your business goals. Maybe the market has shifted. Either way, you have to stay flexible. So whether you are strapping on that weightlifting belt for the very first time, or you're putting on ice crampons, or crafting a business strategy, every climb and every lift starts at base camp. So the takeaway here is set those crucial initial goals and the milestones to guide you up that mountain and through those reps. The second part of that strategy that we just mentioned at the beginning is assembling the dream team. Now, in bodybuilding, we have what we call spotters. And those are people that would come behind you to assist you during some of those very heavy lifts. They're there to catch the weight if you falter, so that it allows you to push your limits safely. Now, in business, what that means is having some kind of a strong support system that you can set around yourself that can help you take calculated risk without crashing. And on a mountain climb, if you have, been on any mountain climb at all, you know how important Sherpas are. They're not just there to help you carry your load and your supplies. They're also there because they know the terrain. They're there because they will guide you safely. In business, think of mentors and think of advisors and experienced team members that could be your Sherpas, guiding you through the treacherous terrain of the market. Now, how do you choose those people that you want to, assemble around you so you can climb this business with? One of the things that I always look at is skill set and strength. I always want to add someone to my team that is smarter and better at things than I am, because I know they will add a lot of value. In bodybuilding, you want a spotter that is stronger than you. Like, I wouldn't want someone to spot me that can barely hold a weight, because then I'm in danger. Like a Sherpa on a mountain, you want a Sherpa that knows this mountain versus that mountain, right? You're not going to just go and get any Sherpa out there, Upwork, what's the cheapest Sherpa I can get, right? No, you're going to find someone that really is a specialist or an expert in a particular terrain, and you're going to want to do the same in business. You want to look for team members that bring specific skill sets and strengths to your event business or to your business, whatever it is that you're planning to build. Now, another thing that's important here is alignment with goals. In bodybuilding, when I do my own training, I don't pair up with someone who's, say, training for a marathon. That's actually my husband. He loves to run marathons. We might occasionally go on a run together, especially when I have to, include a lot of cardio in my training. But running is not really my thing. I mean, it's great to go for a run. I did that yesterday, actually, to just go see the city, because you can see a lot of the city in a short amount of time. But I wouldn't call our training to be the same. So while he trains for a specific outcome, I train for a different outcome. So our alignment in goals is different, even though sometimes recreationally we do go for a run, which is great for bonding purposes. In business, you want a team and team members that are aligned with your objectives, with your company's branding and objectives, and those are the people that you want to find. Those are the people that you want to get on your team. Another important thing here is trust and reliability. Now, if you've ever trusted someone to spot you with your maxed out bench press, you know how important it is to make sure that weight does not fall on you. They're there to support that weight in case you falter. Same way, like when you're climbing the 20,000 peak mountain, putting your trust is like putting your life in someone's hands. So trust is non-negotiable. In business, this can translate into team members who deliver on promises, who can uphold your values and your branding. So those people are just as important as they are, when you're climbing a mountain, when somebody's spotting you in the gym, those are the people that you want around yourself. Another important thing is diversity of skills. In gym, for example, when I go to the gym, I have a nutritionist, I have a strength coach, I have a posing coach, I have what I call a booty coach. Yes, there's somebody that only works on my glutes, because that's important, and you have to have someone that knows specifically what type of workout I need to do for that particular muscle group. You can also have a wellness coach, psychotherapist, all the things, right? On a climb, if you are on an expedition, not only do you have your Sherpas, but you're going to have some route finders, you're going to have cooks, and you're going to have medical experts. Same way in business, having a diverse skill set among your team members means that could be your secret sauce for tackling various challenges, because I don't know about you, but I don't know everything about everything. So I would love to have someone around me that is an expert in certain things so that I can navigate whatever challenges might come my way. So as a takeaway here, whether you're looking for that perfect gym body that will keep you accountable, or maybe you're looking for that experienced Sherpa which could be your dream co-founder, or you're looking for someone that can really add value to your team, assembling that team can make or break this climb to the top. Another thing that I caught this from an interview that I was doing with one of my featured guests that is not yet on air, but will come at the end of the month. And he was talking about attitude over altitude. And he just came from climbing Kilimanjaro, and he was talking about how important is to have the right mindset, and optimizing your goals and building this dream team that we just talked about calls for developing a really good attitude. In one way or another, no matter how much you say you are a thinking head, your emotions will affect how you decide and how you take action. And while you can never be completely free from, the shackles of emotions per se, simply acknowledging how they can influence your directions and how they can influence your decisions can empower you to be more informed and more self-aware when you make rational choices. And that definitely helps, with building that type of self-awareness attitude. Now, mindset matters as I mentioned, and in bodybuilding we talk a lot about this mind-muscle connection, which basically means you bring this very focus, a high focus to whatever lift you're doing, because you want to significantly impact your performance. Now, in business, what a focus mindset might look like is something that can help you power through challenges. And if you run a business, there's always going to be challenges. I mean, we're not even talking about what COVID meant for a lot of us, for a lot of our businesses, right? So making sure that you are mastering this mind-muscle connection can really help you reach new heights. Climbers often talk about the summit fever. It's that intense focus that they have. It's like the drive to reach that top. Now, in business, having a summit mentality means that you've got to keep your eyes on the prize even when the going gets tough. How much does a happy, joyful person help you when you're just having a down day? Have you ever had someone in your life that can just uplift you just by being joyful? Maybe some of you are like, yeah, they're so annoying because I'm like not feeling it, right? But really, truthfully, those are the people that have that power of positivity. And that power of positivity is that positive mindset that, for example, when I'm pushing that one last grueling rep in the gym, it really helps me to keep going. Or maybe when climbers need to, make a push for the top, and it's through really harsh conditions, having that positive mindset really helps them overcome challenges that have to do maybe with weather or maybe with altitude. And the same goes with business. Having that positive attitude can really help you push through and can be the difference between, giving up and making it. Another important thing here is visualizing success. Now, I remember when I first started on my bodybuilding journey, I didn't first see myself on a stage. I just was doing my workout and I was just going in and out doing the same, kind of like, not the same workout, but basically progressive overloading my workouts. But there was a time when a switch happened when I started visualizing myself on a stage with this award, holding it over my head, and that kind of became like my vision board for the future. So from there on, every day, every hour, every workout that I did was keeping that at the forefront of my mind. When I have those hard days when everything feels so much heavier and harder, I bring that image into my mind, and that's what keeps me going. In business, visualizing your goals and where you want to go is what can help you make them a reality. Now, if you've ever been on any journey whatsoever, like fitness, weight loss, business, you're gonna hit a plateau. That's gonna happen. Like, it's inevitable. The importance to have that ability to adapt and overcome, whether you're facing this plateau in a lifting situation or maybe you're on this climb and there's like bad weather coming out of nowhere. And if you've been on a mountain, let me tell you, bad weather will always happen. Like out of nowhere, there's like this one tiny cloud in the sky, and then out of nowhere, it's like a storm. Like what happened, right? So the same in business, you have to be able to keep a flexible, positive growth mindset, especially if you maybe hit this slump in sales and you've hit, you lost a client, like a major client, or you lost, who knows, like you had to pay out of your pocket some expenses that nobody wanted to cover. And I've actually had vendors I needed to deal with where I'm like, nobody's paying the bills, who's going to pay the bills? Obviously now it's on me, right? So that type of adaptability and flexibility will allow you to find a way, like a creative way to overcome whatever obstacles you're facing. And the same thing with this positive attitude that we're, talking about can really help your team morale. Now, just as a motivated gym partner can boost their performance, and I personally don't necessarily have someone that I go with at the gym every single day, but I have what I call a synchronous accountable partner. What that means is they will check on me and I will check on them if they made it to the gym that day. Now, we might not make it at the same time. Like I might be able to work out in the morning, they might be able to work out in the evening, but we check on each other and we keep ourselves accountable, right? So the same way a cheerful Sherpa can really lift the spirits during a really, really tough climb. And I've seen some documentaries where they will start singing and everybody will start singing, and it's like out of nowhere, everybody's happy, but they're almost dying climbing this mountain, right? That type of positive attitude can be contagious and can really help support your team. And let me tell you, if you've had a team, sometimes you've hit some hard cash flow conditions, and maybe that paycheck was late, or maybe, there's been some kind of a well-deserved raise that might not have materialized. So you have to figure out how you're going to keep your team morale high when things don't always go as planned. So in conclusion on all of this, as you keep this in mind, positive mindset is important whether you are, prepping for that bodybuilding competition, you're gearing up for a mountain expedition, or you're navigating the ups and downs of business, because this is what is going to not only elevate your team morale, but your attitude is not just about altitude, is about amplifying your own potential and your teams as well. Another part of this journey is what climbers call acclimatization. And this is where I was putting the stages of growth as I was thinking of this process, because honestly, as much as you want to, as much as I would want to, you can rush the process. You can rush success. In bodybuilding, for example, you can just jump from lifting 50 pounds to going to 300 pounds. You gradually increase the weight, allowing your muscles to adapt and to grow. The same way in business, you can expect to go from this small startup to some kind of an industry leader instantly. It's a process of progressive overload. If you do happen to rush success, or if you do happen to rush, whatever the process you're on, it's very common, especially in climbing, to hit what's called altitude sickness. And what that means is if you are ascending too quickly and you did not give yourself and your body time to acclimatize, you are going to suffer, and there's some really harsh consequences to that, sometimes even death, right? So what that means in business, rapid and check growth can lead to what I would call organizational altitude sickness, which in most cases could, translate in poor quality control or even team burnout. And I don't know about you, but nobody wants that. So it's super important to pace and adapt. Rest and recovery are things that I've struggled the most with, just because I'm a person that just likes to go, 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 go. And bodybuilders, if you're building muscles, you really need rest days for muscle recovery. The same way high climbers, they need those base camps breaks so they can acclimatize. And in business, that means that you do need some kind of periods of consolidation to maybe absorb growth or prepare for the next push, whatever that might be, right? Now, I personally, like I said, I've struggled with rest until I came across this book. And I don't know if many of you have read it. It's Park. And it's basically talks about the revolutionary new science of exercise and the brain. It's by John Rady, and how important rest and recovery is. It's backed by science, and it became super crystal clear after I read it why it's important to take rest days. Like working out 7 days a week, not helpful for my progress. So that's something that I highly recommend if you're into, the science behind wellness, the science behind fitness and exercising. Now, another thing that I use a lot in my training is called periodization. And what that means is I would cycle through different types of training to prevent plateaus. In climbing, you might see climbers switch between different types of terrains to prepare for different challenges. Now, in business, what that looks like, that could mean rotating your focus between, say, product development to marketing to customer engagement, just to keep things fresh and effective. So the takeaway here is that whether you are just looking to change your fitness routine because you hit a plateau, maybe you're like on a weight loss journey and you just like the scale is not moving, or maybe you're on a climb and there's this unexpected storm that it's, changing your plans, or maybe you're trying to pivot your business model in response to whatever market changes. How many of us had to do that during COVID again, right? I mean, acclimatization is so important because it is what will keep you going forward, is the key to long-term success. You've got to pace yourself and adapt in order to reach those lofty goals. So I'm kind of halfway there, and here's one thing that we're going to do right now. This is what I call a power up my muscle recharge. Now, in medicine, as I mentioned earlier, there's this condition called postprandial deep or SLAM, or postprandial somnolence. It's basically a term that's used to refer to kind of like a mild hypoglycemic that's occurring after lunch. You've probably experienced that around 2 p.m., throughout the day, and that's when you want to go for the coffee, right? But what that Spark book is talking about, there is a way to actually overcome that. And since we got another block of appointments coming up, I can allow you to fall asleep on me. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to stand up. All of you going to stand up. This is like a little bit of stretch. I promise you I'm not going to take more than 3 minutes of this, okay? Come on. I'm not going to make you do push-ups. I'm not going to make you do burpees. None of that, okay? All right. What we're going to do is we're going to do this little shake. Actually, this was something that I learned from this guy, Ben, that used to do it every Zoom meeting. Like, how many Zoom meetings have we all done, right? But it was like so great to get our mind and our muscle connected, but also our blood flowing. So here's what I'm going to look funny, but don't worry about it. Like, if I look funny on stage, you guys can look funny there. So this is what we're going to do, okay? We're going to basically shake our hands, and we're going to start with 5 counts in this direction, 5 counts here, 5 counts here, and 5 counts with this leg, and then we're gonna do 4, 4, 4, 4, 3, 3, 2. You got it, okay? So I'm gonna put this down. So come on, let's get. So we're gonna start with the right hand and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Balance 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, almost there. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1. All right. This was that mind-muscle connection. Now you feel like your brain and your muscles are kind of sort of working. Hopefully you won't sleep in your the next section. Okay. Weathering the storm, setbacks and obstacles. How many of us have had to go through seasons of those, right? For myself, in bodybuilding, I've had, beginning of the year, actually it was February, I pulled a tendon in my right hand side, and that set me back not weeks, but months in my training. It took me 9 months to recover from that tendon. And then, of course, when all of that healed, sure enough, to keep things interesting, then I pulled my tie-in muscle between my glute and my hamstrings. Still recovering from that one. So, all of that to say, you're going to hit some kind of obstacles. You're going to hit some kind of setbacks. And you're going to have to figure out, like, how are you going to recover from that? In a mountain climb, you know, that weather change, that storm, that avalanche can be really disruptive and also unexpected. In business, this could be that sudden market change or maybe a team member leaving. I've had 2 team members leaving, and that was really hard to recover from because now I had to pick up all the work and then have to train into new processes, new team members. COVID was a major disruption for a lot of us, right? So figure out how we can weather the storm, just like I have, had to figure out how I'm gonna adapt my workout routine to not make my injury worse. Or maybe if you're on a mountain climb, you have to figure out a different route. You might have to go down and acclimatize. You might have to maybe even like delay your expedition. In business, setbacks happen. That's always going to happen. But the point here is figure out how are we going to bounce back and keep climbing. For me, that meant going through some rehab and recovery. I had to really adjust my workout schedule. I couldn't just ignore the pain. I mean, I could have ignored the pain, but I would have made the issue worse, so that would have not worked out, right? In business, what that means is taking maybe a step back to reassess and regroup, maybe changing tracks, or many of event planners that I know have actually had to change careers during that time. Contingency plans. Now, you don't have to talk in front of a group of planners and ask them what is a contingency plan, because most likely they're going to have like a B, C, D, E, F, G all the way, to Z kind of plan. But in case of, for example, of a climb, a smart climber will always have some kind of a plan B and C in case of bad weather, in case of injuries. In bodybuilding, what that meant for me is to have an alternative workout plan for when I was injured and I had to adjust my routine, and that kept me in the game. Now in business, what that means is have having some kind of a backup, like maybe cash flow backup, or maybe having support so that you can keep going when things are not always rosy and you just hit a very rough patch. Mental resilience is another element of this. And I talk about mental resilience, mental fitness, physical fitness a lot on my podcast. I actually had an entire season, and I was talking to event professionals coming from out of COVID. How did they overcome the challenges? How did they turn those setbacks into comebacks? And so many good lessons, so many journeys, so many stories. It was amazing to hear that, because at the end of the day, that is mental toughness, mental resilience is key to overcoming challenges, is key to pushing through those hard times. And in business, what that means is having the ability to make it to the other side and turning those setbacks, as I mentioned, into comebacks. Because at the end of the day, if you have the right mindset, you can look at it as this: setbacks are just setups for comebacks. Now, here we are at the final peak, and this is another picture. Oh, by the way, have you noticed all the other pictures that I had in the presentation? They have all been created through Midjourney. We talked about Midjourney earlier, right, in the AI panel. So I have a few of me, but most of them, they're actually Midjourney. So this past weekend, as I mentioned, I was in the Bay Area. I was doing a project for a wellness retreat, part of my brand new adventure sister company. And when I got home, I was so ready to crush it. I had one day to crush it, actually, because I went home to spend Halloween with the kids and then come back to San Francisco for this. But the point being, I was so recharged. I had that high of like, oh my gosh, rest feels really, really good. So whether you're just like me, just feeling the high, or maybe you hit some kind of a PR in the gym, or maybe you're standing atop of some significant close-up business that you've closed with a new client, or maybe some kind of a major business milestone, that first big win always feels exhilarating. It's basically testament to your hard work, to your dedication, to your team, to their strength. And it's like when I climbed that 12er for the first time, it was just so amazing to see the world from this altitude that I've reached for the very first time. Since then, I climbed 5 more, but this is my first, right? Like, the first is always the one that you remember the most. So that endorphin rush, the good news is that feeling of accomplishment isn't just a one-time high. Yes, it's addictive, but that endorphin rush can fuel your drive for the next challenge, for the next peak, for the next business adventure. And that's another picture from Midjourney. For maybe a next business venture. Here's my picture from my last competition, right? So the point being here, and they did give you real swords, and I did have to figure out how am I going to fly with those swords and not get pulled over by TSA and be like, what are you doing? I actually had to send them with someone in the car, because I'm like, I don't think they're going to let me, and I won't give them away. So when I first won my first natural bodybuilding competition, my thought was, this is amazing. But my very next thought was, I'm wondering what package will I bring to the stage next time. I asked my guest that climbed Kilimanjaro on the podcast, and I asked him, so when you're on top of Kilimanjaro, what was your thought? Like, what did you experience? He's like, I looked around, I took in the view, it was amazing, and then I saw another peak in the distance. And I wondered, I'm wondering what that peak is. I wanted to reach that one, right? So what this means is you're not going to settle. You never settle. You're going to figure out what's your next step. You're going to want to know what's the next mountain in the distance that you're going to reach. This is my daughter. She was more proud than me because you know her face. It's like she won the competition. And we talk about progressive overloading training. Now that you've tasted success on that peak, progressive goals is basically an invitation to just aim higher. In bodybuilding, that I mean, going for incremental weight increase or the progressive overload that I mentioned. In mountain climbing, meaning, oh my gosh, there's another mountain in the distance. Now I'm going to want to climb that. In business, you might want to set loftier goals. You might want to set different revenue targets. You might want to launch additional product lines. You might want to plan bigger and larger and milder events, right? There's always another peak to conquer. So for me, that last competition only made me wonder, what is it that I'm going to do if I give myself a year to train and come up with a next package? And what we call package is basically the body that you build. You build, right, in the muscles in the right proportions, and then you show yourself, in a bikini in front of people to judge you. I'm like, what's weird about that? So, in conclusion, this is my kids. Whether you're flexing for that extra gram in the gym for your next PR, or maybe there's this allure of a more challenging climb, or maybe snapping yet another summit selfie, or maybe there's the potential of untapped markets, or celebrating a new business that you want to you want to bag. Remember, that final peak is just your first summit. The trim of the new is what makes you look at this next mountain that's standing in front of you and say, I've got this, because I've already climbed my first mountain. I can do this. Because there's always going to be more mountains to climb, more weight to lift, and more goals to smash. So in closing, we're going to recap really quick what we went through and why it's so important to have this mental and physical fitness that is going to power your event business, your business, whatever adventure you're going to go on to next. So we kicked off at base camp, where we set those crucial initial SMART goals, and think of it as choosing the right weights or the right workout plan, or maybe the right Sherpas to help you get onto this journey. Then we assembled the dream team that met the spotters, Sherpas, to help you navigate the climb and the business terrain and the market, whatever that might be. Then we talked about attitude over altitude and how important mindset is, and whether that is lifting weights or scaling peaks or leading a team and building a business. Then we talked about acclimatization and how pacing ourselves for growth is so important, just like in bodybuilding, rest and recovery are important. Then we talked about weathering the storm, which basically reminded us that setbacks, may that be, pull muscle, a snowstorm on a mountain, or a business hiccup, are setups for comebacks. And then the final peak, reaching that final peak, give us that sweet taste of accomplishment and taught us valuable lessons that we can go back to, that we've learned, and it can help us for our next climb. And speaking of the next climb, the next mountain is all about never settling and aiming for continuous growth. So what was really the common thread here, anyone? Mental and physical fitness are your secret sauce for powering through, whether you're in the gym, on a mountain, or in the boardroom. So here's the deal. Life's too short to stand still. Whether you're eyeing again a new PR in your gym, or maybe you want to start on a journey and now you're motivated to go and say, what is a PR? I want to try that. maybe you're scouting a next mountain to climb. You're like, I want to go and climb and conquer a mountain. Or maybe you're plotting your next business adventure or next business big move. Remember that every epic journey starts with the first step. Mental and physical fitness are not just buzzwords, they're really your fuel for this incredible journey ahead. So, with that, what are you waiting for? Don't just stand there. Start climbing. And with that, thank you so much for staying with me, staying awake. And if you'd like to connect me further, I have some QR codes on the screen, and the company, the mother company to Fun Events that sponsors basically Events Demystified and the new adventure, Feed Mindful Learn. And with that, thank you, and we'll see you in the appointments next. Thank you.